Welcome to the Capital Exchange. I'm Steve Wilbur, Managing Director at Allen Capital Group.
And I'm Travis Portwood, Chief Investment Officer with Allen Capital Group.
Travis, we work with widows and widowers, and there's a lot of challenges they face when they get to this crossroad. At a high level, let's talk about some of the more common challenges they have to face.
Well, first, Steve, let's take a step back and talk about things you can do ahead of time to help ease the burden in the aftermath of a death of a loved one. It's not uncommon for one spouse to dominate family finances. Either one really likes to do it or one doesn't care to do it, but it's essential for both spouses to have a reasonable understanding of what the family finances are and any estate plan that they may have in place. This is also where an advisor can really help out. They can help the surviving spouse navigate the financial challenges they're going to have to deal with, because that's the last thing you're going to want to have to think about or be saddled with when grieving the death of a loved one. What you really want to know is, am I going to be okay?
Yeah, and the first thing, Travis, I can think of is cash flow, insurance proceeds, and making sure that you understand where your spouse's insurance policies are and the steps that you're going to need to take to be able to get to those proceeds. The other one is current investments. Has your risk tolerance changed now that your spouse has passed? It has, yeah, more than likely. And is there a step up in basis on some of those assets? And then finally, is there immediate need for cash? And where are we going to really pull from the assets to make sure that you don't sell something at an inappropriate time? More complicated assets are pensions. And if you're taking a pension, if you're taking pension payments, are those pension payments going to be adjusted, or are they potentially going to stop completely? And Social Security, do you have young children, and potentially could you get some of those benefits earlier, or are you older and you are taking Social Security benefits now, and how is that going to impact your situation? And then finally, employer stock plans, restricted stock, stock options, and grants, and understanding how those assets are going to impact your tax liability.
Right. So income, very complicated matter, can be. And then estate planning, the next item I think about, can be equally as complicated. And taxes fall under that. You mentioned it. Do you get a step up in basis on assets? Which ones do you get a step up on? How does that help you? Are there any tax benefits that you lose when you lose a spouse? Ownership issues. Do you have things titled correctly? Do you have out-of-state properties you need to consider? Are there business interests that your spouse had that now you have that you have to consider? We've seen situations where people have done the right thing. They've gone through the work and the process to get an estate plan in place, and then they fail to retitle the assets correctly or fund the trust that they've established in their estate plan. And then that estate plan is far less effective than it needs to be right when you need it to be the most effective.
Right, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of the stuff we're talking about right now, isn't it, Travis?
It is.
And finally, the digital presence. People don't think about that, but your spouse might have a digital presence.
In this day and age, they most likely do.
Yeah, and so you need to make sure that you know the passwords, even though that conversation up front might be a little awkward with your spouse. You need to have that conversation, know where those social media passwords are, so you can access those if something, God forbid, happens to your significant other. So, and for emails as well, you want to make sure you have those passwords. And call credit bureaus. Make sure they know that your spouse has passed. And then finally, make sure you cancel their driver's license. All of these items, or all of these things you can do to help prevent identity theft.
That's correct, Steve. And have no fear. Stava has already given me all of your online passwords, so I'll be able to take care of that for you.
I was wondering why I get weird posts every once in a while.
So what we laid out here, Steve, you have to deal with the cash flow issues, the estate planning issues, the digital presence, which a lot of people don't think about, and many others that we didn't have the time to discuss today. All of these items can feel out of your control if you don't plan ahead, and they'll feel out of control at the worst possible time when you're grieving the death of a loved one. Ben Franklin has a saying that really resonates with me, and it's, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
That is a really good one, Travis. Thank you. I look forward to this next week.
I look forward to it as well.